Hello and welcome to the latest edition of What Does the Draft Say with me, Kathleen Ratorne. We are an organisation that aims to connect people with conservation efforts around the world by holding interviews on social media. Today is World Environment Day, so what better day then to bring in Jessica Berkel from Stenapa, and she's going to be talking all about the importance of marine parks on our environment. So Jessica, if I could hand over to you, if you could talk to me a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in conservation.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jessica Berkel. I am the Marine Park Manager for the St Eustatius National Parks Foundation on St Eustatius, Dutch Caribbean. I've been in conservation now, my gosh, for about just over 25 years, so I'm an old hand. When I went to Holland to study, something completely different, of course. But while I was there, I was a member of Greenpeace, so I was really into nature and not leaving a footprint on the environment. So when I came back to Statia, I realized there was a national park organization here, so I joined right away.
And so you saying that you were part of Greenpeace and was passionate about conservation. Was that something that you grew up with?
Yeah, pretty much. Like if I'm walking down a road and somebody's walking next to me, I will see like 15 birds, caterpillars, that sort of thing. I'm always looking out for nature. I'm very, very passionate about it. I even cry when somebody cuts down a tree. That's how insane I am about nature.
And then how did you get involved with the organization?
Well, when I came back, I was still, a member of Greenpeace till I think the first year, and then my membership ran out. But then I was looking around to see what I could do here, and then I learned about the National Park Foundation. So I went down. I used to be here in the office all the time. So somebody said, "Why don't you join the board?" Which was logical, and then I did that. So I was on the board for 8 years as a secretary, and then I transitioned onto the staff.
So one of the things that I loved as well when I was doing a bit of research about the organization and yourself is the fact that you kind of worked your way up into the position that you're doing now. Can you talk to us a little bit about this?
Yes, when I started, I was at the front desk. I was greeting visitors. I had lots of other tasks because we're a very small organization. We were only 8 staff at the time. So what I did, I also did the radio program and the newsletter. And the then director, my mentor, Miss Nicole Esteban, she kept telling me, no, this isn't for you. You shouldn't be at the front desk. So she was teaching me things about marine environment and marine life all the time. Every time we spoke, she taught me something else. These, environmental terms and all about the marine park. And she just kind of kept grooming me and telling me, you shouldn't be at the front desk. You should be doing something else. And then she said, you should learn to dive. That will help. So the first time, fun story, the first time I went to dive, I panicked on my first dive. I mean, it was a very shallow dive, but I panicked and I came up, and the instructor came up with me, and she was giving me this really long speech. I think it was 10 minutes about, yeah, some people, it's not for them. And, it was just like white noise. I wasn't listening. I was just thinking to myself, if you want to work in a marine park, you have to go back down, right? You have to just breathe and relax, and you have to do this. And then when she was finished with her speech, because I really wasn't listening, I was like, can we go back down? She was like all shocked because, she just like ended my career in her own head. So, yeah, so we went back down, and now I'm 10 years, 20 years later, I'm managing the park. So
No,
it did not
great.
start well.
Well, it just shows you were determined. I really like that.
Exactly.
I just said earlier today is World Environment Day. So I think it's a perfect opportunity then to kind of explain the perks that the ocean that brings to the environment. Can you explain to us a little bit about the National Parks Foundation and the aims and how you guys work alongside them?
Well, like I say, It's an amazing story because it was established back in 1988 when there, national parks weren't really a thing. Well, not in the Caribbean anyway. So there was some very forward-thinking Statia folks. Miriam Schmidt, that everybody on the island knows or knew, in particular, got a group of people together and they established the National Parks Foundation way back in 1988. So I'm so proud of them still because, I mean, imagine how forward thinking that was all those years ago. And they worked really hard and they got a little piece of land from the government to establish an office. And for a long time, it was just on paper. And in 1996 and 97, the actual parks were established. The national park, we have a volcano here that's dormant. So inside there's real different zones, terrestrial zones. And they established that one first, the Quill National Park. And then the next year, the Marine Park.
And so what exactly are they protecting? What's the setup there?
Well, in the Quill National Park, you have rainforest, you have elfin forest, is beautiful. The higher you go, the different vegetation you see and different wildlife. And in the Marine Park surrounds the whole island from the high tide line to the 30-meter depth contour. So it's shaped strangely because of it goes to 30 meters. And it's easier that way because you have multi-species management instead of targeting species to manage individually. It makes life easier for the management. And it's a good way to protect your marine environment around your island because there's some islands here in the region that the fisheries is collapsed because of bad practices, no rules around the island. So we want to keep ours as reasonable, pristine as it is.
And for those watching back home who might not be familiar with the Caribbean, can you talk to us a little bit about Statia and the island itself and the animals and the wildlife that you have there?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have exciting stuff like some of the other bigger islands. What we do have is an endemic snake. It's harmless, the red-bellied racer. It's also endangered, so very few islands in the Caribbean you will find it. So that's a matter of pride for us as well that we have it here, the red-bellied racer. And we have the iguana delicatissima that is also critically endangered. Only a few islands on this entire planet you can find them, and we're lucky enough to have them here. So we have a whole program around that as well. And we have the only place in the Dutch kingdom where you have the Statia morning glory, another endemic species. It's a beautiful running vine with bright pink flowers. It's amazing. And it's the most rare plant in the Dutch kingdom because it's only found here. So, on Statia, we have quite a bit to be proud of, nature-wise.
Excellent. And then can you talk to us a little bit about, I know that you guys on your island, we mentioned earlier about the marine parks. Can you talk to us about the importance of this to our ecosystems and the benefits for them?
Yes, well, like I said, the marine park surrounds the entire island up to 30 meters depth. But within the marine park, we have two zones that are reserves. So they have extra protection. In the marine park itself, we have general use areas where the fishermen can drop their fish traps and you can anchor. But in those reserves, they are specially protected areas where you're not allowed to anchor and you're not allowed to fish because you hear it says reserve. So in there, the fish are protected and other species are protected, and it allows them to grow. And with marine life, the bigger you are, the more you produce. So that's the idea of the reserves. We protect them inside. So when they get big enough, they'll come outside on their own for space. And of course, the bigger they are, the more eggs they produce during spawning. Well, when I'm talking about the fishes.
And what are the challenges and the threats to the marine park? And then on that, how do you overcome these challenges?
Well, on a local scale, direct threats are bad fishing practices. So dropping your fish traps on the reef, which damages the coral and, healthy coral, healthy fish population. So that's direct anchoring on the reefs or directly damaging them. And we're a bit unique because within our marine park, you have a oil transshipment facility. So you have large tankers coming in and dropping anchor in certain areas. So the anchor themselves do damage, but the chain on the anchor, when the tanker swings around, the chain is dragging on the ground, and this creates rubble. And very few marine life like rubble. Well, some conch love it. But then again, if another chain comes along dragging over the conch, you're destroying that. So it's a tough situation because we have a very small park and it's very busy. We have lots of stakeholders, different. We have yachts, the tankers, the line boats, tugboats, inter-island cargo traffic. It's a very busy area and it's very small. So that's a challenge right there. Getting all the stakeholders to respect everybody else's livelihood. It's tough.
And with that, kind of following on from there, how do the local communities typically see the marine park? Is it something that they're supportive of, or is it something that they're not happy with because it might affect their livelihoods?
Well, the thing is, this is an ongoing effort since the park was created because I think it's human nature not to change. Everybody wants to do what they've been doing year in and year out, but with studies and science, you learn that maybe this practice that you were doing 20 years ago is harmful. So it's all about education for us. The challenge is to keep educating the general public, educating the fishermen, educating all the stakeholders actually to do better practices in their work and daily life so that we can preserve what we have.
And with the education, is that something that you do as well with the schools and that kind of thing to get the younger generation to be passionate?
Yes, we have a special person, and she's very special. Axa Mitchell, she's our outreach and education officer, and she has her work cut out for her. She goes to every single school, every single class once a month with a different topic. It's not always marine, of course. And we target special groups as well. Just yesterday, I went to the daycare center for elderly folks to talk to them about sea turtles. So we want everybody to learn how important these things are, So we don't just target the children, general public. We have a good social media presence as well for the whole world to know what we have here.
Excellent. Yeah, and I recommend anyone back home who's watching to check out their Facebook pages so you can see the great work that they're doing. You touched on it a bit earlier, but I know one of the things that you're very passionate about within your role is the management of the sea turtle population there. Can you talk to us a little bit about this? What threats are they facing and why is it important to protect them?
Well, there are 7 marine species of sea turtles in the world, and they're all endangered. We get visited by 3 species, the leatherbacks, the greens, and the hawksbills. We've noticed in the past 10 years, we're not getting any leatherbacks. We used to get like 23 to 30 a year, and now it's down to 0 to 5. One will come in passing and maybe lay a nest or maybe not. So it's really bad. Our leatherback population has practically disappeared. They have turned up in other countries. One came up in Panama, for instance, a few years ago. So we're not saying that they're all lost. They're just not coming back to our island for some reason. But yeah, we have a good population of greens and hawksbills turtles. Those are the smaller ones.
And what sort of threats are they facing? Is it when they're coming on? Are their eggs getting taken, or what sort of things happening here?
Well, the thing with sea turtles, they're a highly migratory species, and they're protected all year round in the Dutch islands, in the Dutch kingdom, actually. And but to get here, they have to pass through many different territories where they are hunted. So they're taken for meat. The eggs are taken. They get trapped in fishing gear. So turtles have a have it hard. Let me say they have a lot of challenges, and they're so slow growing, and it takes like 15 to 25 years to be sexually mature. So that also is a negative for them. And
And
most of
then,
the time when they come back, their beach habitat has changed. There's probably a hotel with palapas on the beach all night, or the beach is gone, or there's a barrier for against the weather. So they have a lot of challenges.
and what advice do you give to the local communities then to help protect them?
Well, you see here, it's not too bad because I think everybody by now knows here they're protected. But what happens is we have a lot of projects on the island, and like I said, we have a big uh, oil facility here. So you have people that come in that don't know. For example, one year, about 6 or 7 years ago, we had poaching on the beach, which never happens. So I would think that maybe it's just with somebody that is unaware that they're protected here and they came from abroad, from a country where it's okay to take them. So it was a tense season. Every time you go down there, you see the nest being disturbed, and so it was tense. But normally it's fine. The population on Statia does know they're protected.
And do you have it so, for example, here in Montserrat, that you're not allowed to drive on the beaches and that kind of thing? Is that the same sort of thing that you have here?
Yes, we have a specially protected beach, but boys will be boys. I always say, every time I go down and I see tracks on the beach, I say, yeah, that was some guy. But yeah, people will take advantage. We do our best to cordon it off to protect the beach as much as possible. We did receive funding for that special project to make barriers on the beach. We try to do it as natural as possible, sometimes with recycled material, but that is a project that we had to protect the beach because our beach as well is on the Atlantic side, and with hurricanes and surges, the beach is very, very, very vulnerable. So we don't want people adding to the stress. So we blocked it off for vehicular traffic.
And kind of following on from that, I mean, where I am in Montserrat, we have the Atlantic on one side as well. And I know that whenever we have storms and things like that, we have terrible litter the next day where things are kind of washed on, and then we have to do beach cleanups and that kind of stuff. Is that sort of things that you guys are doing too?
Absolutely. Every month during nesting season, we have to clean the beach. There's so much debris from it comes from all the way around the world. We had a marine debris exhibition once. We had bottles from Russia, from Poland. You just see it really comes from all over the world. We had a sign from Nevis on our beach one time. So we really get everything, and we have to clean it a lot. We take I think one year we took 300 kilos off the beach, and that's plastic. So you know how light plastic is. If it comes up to hundreds of kilos, it was a lot of debris.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have that issue.
Yeah, for sure. And I know recently, I mean, there's been documentaries like Seaspiracy, for example, that's kind of brought the plight of the oceans to
Yep.
more awareness and to the general public. Are you seeing people are becoming more aware about the importance of protecting our oceans? Are you seeing any changes in attitude here?
I think so, yes. I do see a difference. I do. The education program is working. Uh, we do so much different topics. We had sharks, for instance. Sharks is an issue on the island and in the Caribbean, as you know, these last months. And you see positive comments sometimes when a picture of a shark is posted on social media. So you're like, yeah, there's hope. The campaign is working. So yeah, and then you just have to keep on with education. It never ends. Honestly, it's a never ending part of the work.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great the work that you're doing and raising awareness and the stuff that you're doing with the local communities as well. Kind of touching on from that as well, and I know it's something that is affecting everybody's life at the minute, and we can't talk about anything without mentioning it. But how's COVID kind of impacted you guys? Is it something that's had an impact on the work that you're able to do?
Yeah, it's impacted us twofold because like I said, Stenapa is only 8 to 10 persons. It's a very small organization for the amount of area that we have to cover and amount of work that we do. So we rely on, oh dear, it's getting windy. We rely on volunteers and interns that come from abroad. We work with different volunteer organizations overseas and they send us. So we had a really good team here and then COVID happened. So, airports and countries were shutting down all over the world. So the team that was here left. They went their separate ways before they were locked out of their own country, which we understood, of course. And then now, traveling is not the easiest thing to do at the moment. You have to have permissions and tests and forms to fill in. And sometimes with the quarantine, it's expensive for them to come now. So it impacted our volunteer and intern numbers. And then, of course, with no tourists coming, there's nobody buying the entrance fees to go into the park. So it affected us financially as well.
And if people want to be able to support you guys, what's the best way for them to be able to do that? Is there a way that they can donate, or what kind of work are you requiring?
There is a donation possibility on our website. And also, you can come and spend your time and help us get the work done. That would be nice. It's frustrating at the moment, but once you're vaccinated, things go easier. You don't have to quarantine. You just have to be careful and social distance and wear your mask. And it's for a shorter time than if you're not vaccinated. And that helps, It doesn't take 2 weeks off of your time when you arrive on the island. You can jump right into the work. So those are things that you can do. Monetary donations and donating your time and spreading the word, of course.
Of course, yeah. And I mean, I think that's so important. So again, if you are watching this back home, please do like, comment and share, because the more people that see this, the more awareness that we can raise and hopefully bring more attention to these organizations. You mentioned earlier about the volunteers. I mean, in normal times, typically, what would they be doing as a volunteer?
Well, in the marine park, for example, we have so many projects running at the same time and a lot of monitoring needs to be done. So you have very busy days. You work from 7 to 4 and you're mostly either doing research dives or mooring maintenance, because we have about between 30 and 50 dive sites that have to be maintained. So mooring maintenance, we have a lionfish culling program that we have them here as well. But we have them under control and we want to keep them under control. So it's a lot of work. We do different species monitoring, like marine mammals at the moment. We're doing hydrophone work. So we have to go out and check the hydrophone and maintain that. We have the sea turtle program going on, so you'll have to walk the beach in the morning and in the evening with a partner. So we keep our volunteers and interns very busy.
And do they have to have, I know that you mentioned earlier, it sounds like there's a lot of diving qualifications. Do they have to have that? Or can you do other things if you're not a diver, for example?
Well, yes, because the national parks, there's trail work that the trails need to be maintained. We have a lot of trails in the Quail National Park. And we have a botanical garden that we manage as well. Lots of work. That's an ongoing, never ending, and the ranger that works up there can do with some help terrestrially as well. And we have like the iguana project. If you like working with animals, you go out and spot them and tag them, because we're doing a population assessment. Since they're critically endangered, we need to know how many we have and what we're managing.
Yeah, sure. Okay, and then you mentioned that you've been into conservation for a long time, and it's something that you're obviously very passionate about, and you can clearly see it as you're talking. What advice, if people are watching this back home and they're looking at you as kind of a bit of an inspiration or something like that, what advice would you give to them? Is there anything that you know now that you wish you'd known when you were first starting out?
Yeah, if you're getting into conservation anywhere in the world, I think good advice is to create a network, especially because we're on such a small island and we have such a small team. I spent many years trying to create a network of not only colleagues and friends, but experts. So if there's something I don't know, I'm just an email away or a call away from somebody that can help me, and they're happy to do it. It's even though we're tiny, it goes both ways. We have acquired a lot of knowledge here in the almost 30 years that we're existing. So, and people are happy to come and do their research here. We have what do you call it? A science institute based on Statia, where you can come and do your research. And we're very, we want to know what we have out there too. So, we're happy to entertain and host researchers from all over the world, and they do come because we get the reports, we get the data, and it helps us to manage our resources better. But yeah, anybody starting out, create a network. It's beneficial, mutually beneficial for you and the network that you create. In
I
fact,
think
it's you can't do without it, especially if you're on one of the small islands.
Yeah. And I think that's so important as well, kind of what you're saying there is to not be afraid to reach out to people,
Mhm.
because most people will take the time to respond.
Absolutely.
And having that sharing of knowledge, as you say, it goes both ways. People can learn from you, and then you can learn from them as well. And I think in this day and age as well now, where even when we're stuck at home or whatever,
Yeah.
the internet has allowed us to
Yes.
be able to kind of talk to people that we maybe not have had access to before.
Mhm. Yep. And, like I say, we're on a small island. We're a small organization that's not very often we get funding. So when I do get an opportunity to go away, like to a big conference or something, I really make the most of every minute. If there's a lunch meeting, I can't be tired and go back to my room. I have to, you know, keep working. And by doing that over the years, we have been invited to some pretty awesome projects like the French group of islands. They have funding, so they do a lot of marine mammal surveys. And so by talking and introducing yourself to these groups, you get invited along. So then your rangers who otherwise wouldn't be able to pay for them to take part and stuff like that, they get invited on different trainings and surveys, expeditions like that. So that's the way, I mean, then everybody in the network knows who Statia is, and that's important. Because we're such a
Absolutely.
small island. I'm so tired of going overseas and they're going like, Where are you from?
Yeah. Well, hopefully more people are becoming aware of who you
Yeah.
guys are and the work that you're doing. Okay, well, I've only got one more question left, Jessica. If you're watching back home and you'd like to put a question to Jess, then please do pop it onto the comments section and I will read it out for her. And I'm very much about kind of, I know conservation can be very difficult and it can seem a little bit overwhelming. So I always like to try and finish on a bit of a high. So could you tell us maybe about what your favorite success story is since you've been working here?
Okay. So a long time ago, I always say people want to people I don't know how to put it. People will conserve what they understand. If I can say, scream it to the moon, yeah, sea turtles are important and they're so great and whatnot. But there's a story like I think it happened like a long time ago, maybe almost 10 years ago, that when we were patrolling on the beach in the night, it's just like it's two people back and forth on a beach, really late hours, and certain things happen from time to time. So sometimes you have to call the police, and the response time sometimes was not quick enough for me in any case, because you're alone, just two people out on a beach in the dark at 2 o'clock in the morning. So what happened is, when we know sometimes when the nest is coming out, because we monitor them closely, so we invited different stakeholders to come down and see what it's like when they come out, when the hatchlings are coming out. So we invited the police, and a good bit of them came, I must say. And I mean, since then, they're still talking about it. They were so happy to be there and experience this phenomenon of seeing the hatchlings walk into the sea. I tell you, sometimes they still tell me, hey, you remember when? And now they've even added the beach as a patrol stop during the night. So sometimes you're way up the beach and you can see the the searchlights that they're down there. They're looking to see if there's any irregularities. So, that was, I would say, that's a good example of you need to sometimes show people what it is they're protecting for them to care. You can say it all the time, but once they experience it.
Yeah.
And then one other time, I took a friend of mine down to the beach, and there was a nesting female, leatherback, so a really big turtle. And then the whole time she stood there, it was like almost an hour. She was like, "Wow, wow." That's all she could say. She was so overwhelmed. So I like to see things like that. Like somebody else now is a new turtle advocate. I like it when people just get to experience nature like that and are impressed by it, because it's very impressive, nature.
For sure. I mean, before I moved to Montserrat, I'd never seen a turtle before, and I had the similar experience with a leatherback. And it was 2 o'clock in the morning when we
Yeah,
spotted it laying its eggs, and a grown woman nearly in tears watching the turtle.
absolutely. It happens. It happens. And I love it. I love when people are just finally seeing what it is you're talking to them about all the time. That's
Yeah.
important as well for the up and comers. If you can get people actually in the field to experience nature, it makes your work easier.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We've got a question coming through from Lawrence Cook, and they're asking, how is the progress going on the botanical gardens?
Lawrence Cook, that was one of our interns a long time ago. Good, good. We, of course, the issues in the garden is lack of manpower. So, sometimes you make progress and then there's not enough people to do the work, so it gets overgrown again. So it's that for sure is something we need help with. If botanists and landscapers can, if they have the time and the energy and the money to come, that would be great. We always need help in the garden. We're looking for long-term solutions on how we can keep it looking good, because it's a beautiful spot. It's like on the other side of the island, tucked behind the volcano, so it's really quiet. And when you go out there, it's like you're in a different place. You really don't think you're in Statia anymore. It's so quiet, and you can see the other islands in the distance. So we really need some help with that, and we're working on solutions. It's just a little difficult with the staffing issues. So we need
Sure.
volunteers.
Well, we've got a comment coming through from Sherry Wright. I'm assuming she must have been a volunteer with you guys, because she's saying it was an awesome experience and everybody should volunteer.
Everybody needs to know Sherry. She's from Canada, and she takes her vacations to come and volunteer with the turtle program. That's how much she loves it. She's one of our avid sea turtle program volunteers. We love Sherry here. She even donates stuff sometimes. She loves them so much. So we're always happy to have her.
We've got a comment coming through as well from Perla, and she's saying, do the school children help with the gardens and teaching them to plant and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Where the garden is situated, we do take the school trips there from time to time, but it's so far away and the road is kind of very bad. So you really have to take your time to get there. So a school trip over there, it eats up most of the morning. So schools rarely, they don't really like to do it. And nobody likes to drive over there. So that's an issue. We need to work on the road, which we do to the best of our ability. And people do go out there a lot in the weekends, so it can be done. But yeah, we need to think like that, think out of the box, because we need more help out there.
Sure. I've got another question coming through from Sherry, actually, and she's asking, how many iguanas have you tagged?
Oh my gosh. I help with the iguana program. Like, if there's nobody else in the office and somebody needs a rescue, I'll go out and rescue one. But the data, I haven't been keeping up to date on the data, but I think it's 200, about 250. I think that was the last number I heard, but I don't write it in stone. I could be wrong, but I think it's that.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we've had some lovely feedback coming through when we're talking. I think you're putting Statia firmly on the map. We've had people watching from America, Europe, Uganda, Costa Rica, Canada. So, yeah, thank you, everyone, from wherever you are watching. We really appreciate your support. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up now. Jessica, is there anything you want to finish with before we say goodbye?
Yes. Today is World Environment Day, and I would love if everybody who's listening can do something small for the environment today. Even if it's you go on a walk and you pick up one piece of trash that you see, or refuse a plastic bag in the shop. Do one little thing for the planet Earth today, and that will make me the happiest person. Happy World Environment Day.
Excellent. So as we mentioned earlier, please do, as I say, follow these guys on social media. Check out all the work that they're doing. They're doing some great stuff, and all your support is just going to help them enable to continue the work that they're doing. If you've enjoyed this interview and you haven't done so already, then please head over to What Does the Giraffe Say Media's Facebook page, where you'll see other interviews with other inspiring people around the world doing their work for conservation. And we've got several exciting interviews lined up for the following weeks. But for me, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Jessica, for coming on, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye, everyone.